Imagine you are walking home. It is late. The streets are quiet. You reach into your pocket and feel your wallet. It is still there. You check your phone. Your bank app shows the exact balance you expected to see. Everything feels secure. But while you were walking, someone reached into your future and took a piece of it. They didn't take your paper money. They didn't hack your account. They didn't even touch you. Yet, you are poorer now than you were 10 minutes ago. Most people believe that if the numbers in their bank account stay the same, they are safe. We have been conditioned to worship the nominal value. We see $100, we see 1,000, we see 1,000,000, and we feel a sense of peace. This peace is an illusion. It is a psychological anchor designed to keep you calm while the floor beneath you is slowly being lowered. We are living through a silent heist. It is the only crime where the victim watches it happen, sees the evidence every day at the grocery store and the gas station, and yet continues to trust the very system that is draining them. You aren't losing money. You are losing time. And time is the only thing you can't earn back. Welcome to the greatest magic trick in financial history. For decades, we have been told a specific story about a middle-class life. Work hard, save your money, put it in a high-yield account, wait for retirement. It sounds responsible, it sounds moral. But the math of 1970 is not the math of today. Today, saving money is technically a form of slow-motion gambling where the house is guaranteed to win. When you look at your savings, you see a safety net. But if that net is made of a material that dissolves every year, is it actually a net? Or is it just a distraction while you fall? The problem isn't just that prices are going up. That is the symptom. The problem is that the unit of measurement we use to value our lives is broken. Imagine trying to build a house with a ruler that shrinks by 2% every month. By the time you get to the roof, nothing fits. The foundation is warped. This is your life in the current financial system. We feel the friction every day. We feel a strange, low-level anxiety when we look at our bills. We see our salaries go up, but our lifestyle stays the same, or feels tighter. Most people blame the shops. They blame the corporations. They blame the supply chains. They are looking at the shadow on the wall instead of the hand moving in front of the light. We have been taught to fear volatility. We are told that the stock market is a casino and that cash is king. And this is a very specific type of propaganda. By making us fear the risk of investing, we are funneled into the certainty of cash. But cash is not a store of value. It is a melting ice cube, and the faster the sun shines, the more we are told to hold on to the ice. To understand why your savings are a trap, you have to understand what money actually is. Money is not wealth. Money is a claim on someone else's labor in the future. When you work an hour today and get paid $50, you are essentially storing that hour of your life in a small green rectangle. You expect that 5 years from now, you can take that rectangle to someone else and trade it for an hour of their life. That is the social contract. But what happens if the government decides to print 1 billion more of those rectangles? They didn't create more labor. They didn't create more hours in the day. They didn't create more houses or more food. They simply diluted your hour. Your $50 still says $50. The ink hasn't changed, but the claim it has on the world has withered. The system operates on a principle called the Cantillon effect. This is a fancy way of saying that those closest to the source of the money get the most value. When new money is created, the banks and the ultra-wealthy spend it first before prices have risen. By the time that money trickles down to your paycheck or your savings account, the prices of everything have already adjusted upward to account for the new supply. You are the last person at the buffet, and all that's left are the crumbs and the bill. The system requires you to stay in the race. It needs you to keep working, keep producing, and keep saving in a currency that is designed to lose value by design. A 2% inflation target isn't a stable economy. It is a controlled leak. Over 30 years, a 2% leak destroys half of your purchasing power. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly as intended. It is a mechanism for transferring the energy of the masses to the owners of assets. If you own the assets, you are on the right side of the leak. If you own the cash, you are the one being drained. Let's look at the numbers they don't want you to calculate. Most people look at a 3% interest rate on a savings account and think they are making progress. They see the numbers go up. But if inflation is 5% and the taxman takes 20% of your gains, you aren't making 3%. You are losing money in real terms. You are paying for the privilege of letting the bank use your capital. This is the hidden tax. An income tax requires a law. It requires a vote. It requires a debate. Inflation requires none of those things. It is a tax that requires no legislation. It is a silent confiscation of wealth that hits the poorest and the most responsible savers the hardest. The math of the modern world is designed to be confusing. It is designed to make you feel like you aren't quite smart enough to understand why you're struggling. But the math is actually very simple. If the supply of money grows faster than the supply of things you want to buy, the things get more expensive. Between 2020 and 2022, the amount of US dollars in existence increased by nearly 40%. Did the world get 40% more productive? Did we build 40% more houses? Did we invent 40% more technology? No. We just sliced the pizza into more pieces and told everyone they had more food. But you're still hungry. And the slice you saved in the fridge is getting smaller every time you look at it. The most dangerous part of this heist is the psychological toll. When your savings don't buy what they used to, you don't blame the monetary policy. You blame yourself. You think you need to work harder. You think you need to cut back on coffee. You think you're failing at adulthood. This creates a treadmill effect. You run faster and faster just to stay in the same place. And while you are running, you are too tired to look up and see who is controlling the speed of the belt. The internet has exacerbated this. We are bombarded with two conflicting lies. The first lie is the one we've discussed, that cash is safe. The second lie is the get-rich-quick culture of social media. We see 20-year-olds in Dubai talking about crypto, dropshipping, and luxury cars. They tell you that the matrix is a choice and that you can escape it by buying their course. This is just another floor of the same building. These influencers are often selling a dream to people who are desperate because they feel the silent heist happening. They offer a shortcut that is usually just a different type of trap. The hype culture exploits the same anxiety that inflation creates. When people realize their savings are dying, they stop thinking long-term. They start gambling. They look for the 10-bagger, the moonshot, the lottery ticket. The system loves this, because when you gamble, you usually lose. And when you lose, your capital is recycled back into the hands of the people who own the casino. Real wealth is built slowly through the ownership of productive assets. But the system makes it very hard to think slowly. It creates a state of permanent emergency. If your money is losing value every day, you feel a subconscious pressure to do something. Anything. This leads to bad decisions. It leads to FOMO. It leads to the destruction of the very patience required to actually win. We are told that the stock market is at an all-time high. Is it? Or is the dollar at an all-time low? If you measure the S&P 500 in gold, or in median house prices, or in barrels of oil, the growth of the last decade looks very different. Much of what we call wealth creation is actually just asset inflation. Your house didn't necessarily become a better place to live over the last 5 years. It's still the same wood and brick, but it costs twice as much. You aren't twice as rich. The money is just half as valuable. The illusion of growth hides the reality of stagnation. There's a deep psychological reason why we fall for this. Human beings are not evolved to understand exponential decay or complex monetary systems. We are evolved to understand fairness. If someone stole your lawnmower, you would call the police. You would feel a sense of violation. But if the government devalues the currency and it takes you an extra 10 hours of work to buy that same lawnmower, you don't feel violated. You feel tired. The theft is distributed. It is decentralized. It is invisible. And because it is invisible, it is socially acceptable. We have accepted a world where saving is seen as a foolish act for the uneducated, and investing is a mandatory survival skill. Think about that. In a healthy society, a doctor should be able to be a doctor, and a teacher should be able to be a teacher. They should be able to do their jobs, save their earnings, and retire in peace. But in our system, everyone is forced to become a part-time hedge fund manager just to protect what they've already earned. You have to study charts. You have to follow the Fed. You have to worry about interest rates and geopolitical shifts. This is a massive drain on human potential. Millions of brilliant minds that could be solving cancer or designing better cities are instead glued to trading screens, trying to outrun the silent heist. This is the psychological tax of the fiat system. It robs us of our focus. It robs us of our presence. It forces us to live in a future that is constantly becoming more expensive. We are told that the goal of life is to get ahead. But how do you get ahead when the finish line is taped to the back of a motorcycle that is driving away from you? The reality is that most people will never arrive. They will spend their entire lives chasing a number that they think means freedom, only to find that by the time they reach it, the cost of freedom has doubled. This is not a conspiracy. It is just the logic of the machine. The machine needs growth. Growth requires debt. Debt requires inflation to stay manageable. You are the collateral for that debt. Your future labor is the security that keeps the whole tower from leaning too far. We are taught that the safe path is to follow the crowd. But the crowd is drowning. The crowd is the one holding the cash. The crowd is the one buying the liabilities disguised as assets. The crowd is the one watching the news and waiting for a politician to fix their bank account. No one is coming to save your savings. The people in charge of the currency have a conflict of interest. They need the currency to be weak so they can pay back the debts they ran up. Your grandmother's savings account is the sacrifice they are willing to make to keep the system liquid. So, where does that leave you? It leaves you in a world where the most dangerous thing you can do is nothing. In the past, doing nothing was a valid strategy. If you had gold coins in a chest, they were the same gold coins 50 years later. They bought the same amount of bread. Today, doing nothing is an active choice to be liquidated. But knowing the truth doesn't make it easier. The emotional weight of realizing that the game is rigged can lead to nihilism. It can lead to the YOLO economy where people spend everything they have because they don't believe the future is worth saving for. This is the final stage of the heist. First, they take your purchasing power. Then, they take your hope. Once you stop believing in the future, you stop building it. You become a pure consumer. You become a servant to the present moment. And a person who only lives for the present is the easiest person to control. The heist is silent because it happens in the mind. It happens when we stop questioning why we are working harder for less. It happens when we accept that a stable economy is one where we lose 2 to 5% of our life's work every year. It happens when we look at our bank balance and feel safe, despite all the evidence to the contrary. Your savings feel safe because the numbers aren't moving, but numbers are just symbols. Behind the symbols is the reality of your time, your energy, and your freedom. And that reality is being harvested, little by little while you sleep. The question isn't how to stop the heist. The heist is the system. The question is, how long can you afford to keep believing the lie? And more importantly, if you finally decided to stop playing their game, what would you even use for a scoreboard? Think about it. Because while you've been watching this, the ruler just got a little bit shorter, and the house you're building is starting to lean. How much of your life is left in your wallet? Are you sure? What specific asset do you believe is the only true protection against this silent heist? And why haven't you moved more of your wealth into it yet?